Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Ian, for that lovely introduction, and also to Wandia for setting the stage for our discussion. Very engaging to see what Marathon XP is doing. So today we have hyper-personalization, and we want to look at it at scale. We've read the research, we've seen the online blogs, that this is the next thing in the future of banking, especially around being customer-centric. So the use cases for the bank is that it's supposed to increase our revenue, brings in a brand visibility, and most importantly, financial inclusion. So as a panel, as we reflected on this, we want to present to you the possibilities, demystify hyper-personalization, look at some of the building blocks, the challenges, and also think about responsible AI. And we do hope that we'll leave you intrigued, that will leave you with the possibility of what you can do with hyper-personalization. And also we hope to engage with you if you do have time for Q&A. I know most of you have approached me and said would like to engage with you. So I do hope we'll have a chance, especially to engage on this. So as we start, Anita, I think I want to give it to you in your space, and I suppose in your area of expertise. You've worked around this space of hyper-personalization. Why don't you start us off by demystifying this concept, Anita?
Thank you. Thank you, Georgina. Good afternoon, all. I was so happy to see Wandia's presentation because it's really at the heart of what personalization is, whether it's hyper or personalization. So if you look at my role, so I lead innovation for HF Group. For those who don't know HF Group, HFC, housing finance, and one of the things that is very important to us as an organization is to really demystify, or rather completely change how you look at building products and services for customers. And therefore, that means you have to really understand who you're building for before you actually build that product and serve that product to the potential customers. So for me, what personalization or hyper-personalization means is to really leverage the data that we have internally for the customers that we serve and use that data to really then build experiences that speak to them. So at the core of innovation for the group is we use human-centered design. I was very happy to see Wandia sharing that. And at the core of it, before we even build a product, because we have moved from building products because we've seen our competitors building similar products, to really listening to our customers. So we've gone into having a lot of focus group discussions with our customers, listening to their motivation, their needs, and then crafting solutions, whether they are already existing solutions or completely new solutions based on that need and aspiration. And then from there, then it becomes very easy to monetize some of those solutions. So if you look at our digital proposition, some of the things that we are working on right now is to get those existing platforms to speak to Georgina's preferences in regard to the products, and even just how they experience our full set of services, both online and also at the branch level.
Well, thank you so much, Anita. And you bring in the good point of customer centricity and also customer heterogeneity. It has to speak to Georgina, it has to speak to, it has to speak to Winnie. So probably, Winnie, in your space around product management, are you seeing a drive to move from focusing on a product versus focusing on the customer? Probably, what are some of the key areas that organizations would need to think top of mind as they want to move into hyper-personalization? You could also give us your view and experiences as you sit in between business and technology. Winnie?
All right. Thank you very much, Georgina, and good afternoon, everyone. So I lead the digital team at Access Bank Kenya, and some of the things we leverage on are what I'm going to highlight today with regard to product and hyper-personalization for the customer. So from our perspective, we look at 3 areas. So the first thing is empathy. on the product. Empathy has different definition. For me, it's, are you available for me at the time of need? And the areas we look at is credit. Number two, simplicity. This application, this product, this channel needs to be very simple for this customer to use. And last but not least, we also look at segmentation. I think as bankers and as product owners, it's time we move away from segmenting customers by age, by income. We now need to go a level further and segment them by the way this customer wants to be engaged, right? So I spend a majority of my time educating people in our organization that we can no longer keep saying that, one, the customers are shady, they can't use an application, or the customers are old, they will not use the application. If some of the key players in the digital space had that perspective, we wouldn't have the success we do have on mobile money services. If the current providers of mobile money thought, oh my God, this thing is, the people in mashinani will not be able to use it, they wouldn't have been able to innovate in that fashion. And it surprises me that till date, we still have that type of mentality. But I'm happy to hear that there was a previous presenter in the morning who said, you'll be very surprised that the older generation is now more interested in digital products. And there's also a younger generation that is interested in traditional banking. So it's important for us to be able to segment customers that prefer to engage us through branches, because there's still some customers who do that, and also the ones who prefer to engage the bank from a product perspective.
Okay, thanks so much, Winnie. I think, Joel, as we were preparing for this panel, we recognize you come from a space of hardcore IT with extensive experience. And we are seeing around, a shift. We've seen personalization. Hyper-personalization is now growing to scale, but I think we are not there yet. We've not all picked it up. What could be some of the challenges holding us back? What do you think is going through the minds of executives as we begin to think about scaling on hyper-personalization?
Thank you, Georgina, for your questions. And so basically, as I mentioned, she mentioned from very technical background, and looking at hyper-personalization, you realize really in this country, which bank is able to try this? I don't think we are there yet, but looking at what are our challenges, basically one is our KYC. When we are doing our data collections, what do? You find someone might actually do a very wrong data entry, calling me Mrs. or Mr., and then you realize at the end of it all, you are told Mrs. Busiene. Then you get to wonder why. The other thing that you find is we are not yet there yet because we can't measure what is the return on investment. So when you do your personalization, what do you expect? And how will you then quantify that costing or the return on that investment? I hope you've also read about some family, I think in the US or in the UK, where they received a message and said, congratulations for your pregnancy. And basically they looked and said, I am above menopause, why? Basically, one, because I think one of the banks has been trending. They gave their daughter their credit card, their personal card, and so the daughter has been using. And with that combination of purchasing several medicine, then probably the bank felt like, oh, she's expectant. And so, congratulations for your pregnancy. You are 5 weeks old. So really, that is already data privacy infringement. And so they actually... And I think they actually raised a lawsuit and they were paid, only to find that actually their daughter was pregnant. And so, are we ready for this protection, data protection? We are not yet ready there. And so, if you look also in terms of, do you have the investments? We look at, like for instance, places in other areas like Turkana. Do we have that data to say they are nomads? They come in today here, today they're in Lake Victoria, or sorry, Lake Turkana, the other day they're in Sudan. So basically, do we have that data? So our challenges are still vast as a country. Those people are not even bankable, to say the least. And so we need to then go back to Akukunza and say, what exactly do we need to be able to meet this threshold so that we can now go into the next level to upper personalize our commitment. And I think for us, I think as the technical teams, we need to work very closely with the team, business teams, and also the innovation teams to ensure that we are able then to craft very, very technical, or rather very accurate algorithms that will be able to provide the information that we need for purposes of us as a bank to leverage on the technology at the same time to maximize our marketing potential.
Thank you so much, Joel. So I hear you on the challenges around data. And back to you, Anita. Clearly, in a technical conference, we cannot not speak about the capacity of technology with regards to data. So scaling on hyper-personalization, what are some of the building blocks? And do you submit that it must involve AI? What are some of the things we can do that's supporting technology or have technology support in terms of forming a building block or framework in order to be ready for hyper-personalization?
Okay, so thank you, Georgina. So at the heart of hyper-personalization is data. So this data can be data that's already in the organization or data that is out there. Therefore, I think one of the key building blocks for hyper-personalization is to organize your data, right from how you acquire a customer, what kind of information are you getting about that particular customer, to storing that information of, from the acquisition process all the way to processing that data internally. So as organizations, we really need to look at how is our data structured? Do we have the right infrastructure to support such kind of tools that allow for hyper-personalization? If you look at AI predominantly is dependent on a lot of this data that we collect from our customers, whether it's transactional data, whether it's interactional data, whether you have it internally or externally. So as an organization, then it's important for you to start at that point. And I think banks have to evolve to, because a lot of us have data warehouses, but most of the data warehouses that don't have real-time data, if you are to be honest. So we have to morph our monolithic architectures to allow for, real-time information about that one customer, so that when it comes to personalizing to their preferences, then it actually makes sense. We were discussing about some of the messages that we send our customers, and it's just because they have probably your debit card, and you send them a fuel discount message, for example, yet probably Anita doesn't drive, So we have to be able to organize our data in a way then that makes sense for our customers as we communicate and engage with them at whatever level. Yeah.
Thanks, Anita. And I think, Winnie, you want to weigh on it, but as you weigh, I wanted to propose, a research that I had seen by Abojani, that 62% of customers here in Kenya have more than one bank account. Okay, so I have an account in HF, I have an account in MBK, I have an account, of course, at Access, and so on. And consequently, as Anita said, you have to be able to tailor to their needs. So this is a customer. Is it that the customer does not know their needs? From, shaping hyper-personalization for them, different banks for a certain reason. So how do you then make sure that that data that Anita has spoken about indeed can give you the insights that you need? And I think Collins and Wandia spoke into it. We are collecting data, not necessarily from our core, but how then do we ensure that it makes and gives us the right insights?
All right, thanks, Georgina. So from one, I'm going to respond to that from a product perspective. As what the customers are usually looking for right now is, at this day and age, especially since COVID happened, is an experience. And the experience has to be seamless. And for you as an organization to be able to give a customer a seamless experience, you need to ensure that you're collecting, one, appropriate data, analyzing this and using it to make to give a customer the seamless experience. So in terms of being multi-banked, that's true. Most consumers, as we speak, are multi-banked. But you'll make an observation that most people are preferring to almost center their transactional information on telcos. And that's because of just simply one thing, a great experience. Two, availability and the empathy I highlighted earlier, which I defined as being available for me in my time of need. I need to borrow. Will you give me the money right now? Most banks, most likely not. But however, in the past 2 to 3 years, we've started seeing banks evolve into being able to fund customers when they need. A typical bank experience is you'll go into a branch, you open an account, a form that's probably 5 pages. When you need a loan, they ask you for the same exact information. This entire time they had your information, but somehow they'll still ask you for the same, what is your name? Where do you live? Yet you opened an account with them probably 10 years ago. So those are some of the experiences we really need to fix as banks. And that's why customers, you'll find, open a specific account for maybe your current account activity, saving somewhere else. And all this is based off of experience. So I think those would be my thoughts around that. And then I'd like to highlight a bit of information around data. I know data is sensitive right now, especially in Kenya, because some people are using their information for all the wrong reasons. However, Salesforce has done a research. However, it was done in the US. Around 67% of consumers are okay giving you their personal data if you're going to use it effectively. Customers have no problem whatsoever giving you their personal information if you're going to use it, one, to lend, two, to push information that's relevant to me. The example Anita gave, we discussed earlier. I give you my phone number. I do not have a car, but you're texting me that I can fuel at Total. It's completely irrelevant. It's a cost to the bank, number one, sending that SMS, and you do not reach anybody. So I think it's high time that banks invest in technology, leverage on yes, technology and the data they've collected over the years to see how they can design experiences and products that will benefit the customer in particular. And for me, a low-hanging fruit is always and forever account opening. Account opening in banks is so tedious, it's unbelievable that even government institutions have gone ahead of us. Opening an e-citizen account right now is so simple. You just give them your phone number, and they have all your information. The website will tell you your name, where you come from, but somehow banks will still need you to literally write. Some actually even ask you to draw the map to your house, and this is information you can pick off of the customer's phone number. Another example that has really done account opening proper is Apple. If you need an Apple card, once you click apply, you're just asked to verify this information. They have all your data. And that type of experience, for me, I think is what banks should really be thinking about when it comes to hyper-personalization. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Joel, as we begin to wrap up, it appears to be quite easy for the Amazon and the Netflix to tailor such experiences to customers, yet their customer base is huge. What are your thoughts on the how-tos? What are the next steps, especially for the delegates in the room, as we begin to want to scale? Remember, we already know personalization, but how do we now scale that? Over, Joel?
Thank you. I think there are many factors that we need then to look at. How then will we be, how do we need to ethically work with artificial intelligence? And basically, one of the things that I've picked 4 factors. One of that is you need to have the human side about it. So don't let the systems, the data analytics runs. Please put in the human perspective of it so that you ensure that while you are doing your algorithms as a technical person, you put then that human part of it, so that as you communicate to your users, your clients, then you've put in the touch of a human perspective. Secondly is look at what is your resilience. Have you ever had some banks, and this is with experience, basically they are running a CRM contact center, and when there's an outage, then it means that bank is not available. So what happens when you then using the hyper-personalization and you don't have any user or other personal interface to it? It means then your services are then impacted, and so you are not able to then deliver your services to your customers. Thirdly, I think you need to mitigate and look at the risks. One of them is, what is the risk and how do you remediate that biasness? If then you find you've been able to send, there's an issue with your algorithm and you're able to send wrong information to particular customers, how do you then put that? You then, the first instance comes in, you need to have a human face into it. And so you can be able to then mitigate that by ensuring all those biases that you've put in are then counter with a human being. And lastly, I think this is very critical, especially in our country, is you need to then work within the law. That is, you need to be within the ethical perspective of regulations and also within the data protection rules in Kenya. And so as you work into your personalization, your data analytics, ensure, for me, those are the four key issues that you then need to put in place to ensure that you consider well, so that you can provide a very responsible artificial intelligence to your customers.
Thank you so much, Joel. And Winnie, several questions have been posed up here, but more importantly, are we up for this? Are the banks up for it? Is it a buzzword? Where do we see this going? In closing?
So in closing, I think banks are up for it. My perspective is growing up. Probably now people will most likely guess my age. Banks used to be innovative. Yeah, I remember when you'd go to a wall and withdraw money. And I think that's the last innovation we ever did, an ATM. And then we then left that to every other competitor. So I'm talking about fintechs and digital credit providers. So if we do not watch out, this competition will eat into our turf as banks. And eventually, no consumer will need a bank account, really. You have your wallet, Airtel Money or M-Pesa, you're good to go. That means you can keep your current monies there and your savings there. And you have your digital credit providers. These people know you really well. They've collected information from you. They know you. They're able to lend you. They're leveraging on technology the machines are leveraging on technology to learn your spend, and they're able to score you more over time, the more you use. However, banks, we've collected all this information, but we are not using it in the same style and fashion. So I think in closing, for us as bankers, is to start innovating from the back office towards the front. We've done work on the front. It's now time to look back and see what we can do to be able to compete in this digital space. Thanks.
So Anita, in closing, the audience is different personalities, different banks are here. What is the one thing that we can leave the audience pondering about with respect to this hyper-personalization? Anita?
A customer is a customer. Every customer is unique as your fingerprint. That's how you have to see all your customers. So you have to serve each and every customer individually. And that's the whole concept about hyper-personalization. So let's go and listen to our customers before we build. Let's not assume we know they need what you're building. Yeah, that's counterproductive. So let's listen and build great solutions.
Thank you so much. And the kind of eyes Ian is giving me lets me know I cannot continue to engage with my panel and the audience. I do hope in our opening remarks, we wanted to leave you more intrigued. We wanted to demystify and just have a discussion around this and across, hardcore tech, product management, and innovation. So to my panelists, thank you so much. It's been great engaging with you, as well as the audience. We do hope we left you intrigued. Thank you so much.